Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may happen to be in the big wide world. Welcome once again to IAG Live, and it is episode 50 of IAG Live, so that's very exciting. We've been doing this for a while now, and up to episode 50. I still don't think we've got it right yet, but we're getting better, and we've got some improvements coming over the coming weeks and months, so I'm quite enjoying doing this each week, and we're bringing you the news of the week and trying to do something a little bit different with IAG Live. So thanks for the regular viewers and the people that watch it after the fact. A lot of people watch it after the fact. That is very good. And of course, as always, we have our intrepid studio producer, Oscar Guiaro from Spain. Come on in. Oscar.
Hello.
Flew to Spain overnight. Hey, yeah. Congratulations.
I put my t-shirt from 16 years ago.
Very good. And you still fit in it, Oscar. You're a better man than me.
Yeah.
Well done. Well, congratulations.
It's big size. That has the trick. Okay. Because I grew bigger too.
Yeah, well, that's kind of normal. Well, it was a great game too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Very nervous, but it's okay. Yeah. I enjoy it. I watched it a couple of times after.
I bet you did. And they play dirty, those Argentinians, don't they?
Yeah, they are. It's their style. They cannot help it.
Yeah. Well, and you're and you flew to Spain overnight, Oscar, or yesterday evening.
I departed on Tuesday and arrived on Wednesday, but it's a long trip from Spain, so it is a long more than 1 day. Yeah.
Because you're not in Madrid, right? You're in your hometown.
Yeah, my hometown Alicante is a small city close to the Mediterranean Sea, and it takes even 4 hours plus after I land in Madrid, later coming here and settle down. So it's a long
very
trip.
Good. I'm sure your mum and dad are very happy to see you.
Yeah, of course. Very emotional. Everything.
Yes, and you have a lot of. I'm sure you'll have a lot of family time over the summer. And when do we expect you back in Asia, Oscar?
Well, I will be 1 month. I will be working every day. I mean, it's not like I take like a full holiday, but it's for my son.
Yeah,
that is the one that really enjoys here. But yes, around 20 something, I will be back 1 month, 4 weeks.
And
I will be here.
Just in time for the IAG Expo. You'll be over for the IAG Expo. Well, so you'll be back sort of 20-something of August, and then obviously the Expo is about 3 weeks later, and we'll all be heading over to the Philippines for then. Oh, that's very good. Well, congratulations again. You can bask in the glory of Spain being world champions for the next 4 years.
And I think still people celebrating. I said as a joke, but when I arrived, when I arrived with my son, the train coming back to my hometown was full of kids that have gone to celebrate to Madrid and were coming back and with the t-shirt and singing. So a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Good to see happy people. I'm sure you're going to be wearing that shirt for a while, Oscar. It's going to be hard to drag it off you.
Well, I just put it for here, but I keep it in a drawer. In a drawer, yes. Just I need
you keep it in a drawer, like
stretch.
in a plastic bag, like all protected.
I should, but I didn't know even where it was. But I said I'm going to wear it for IAG Live, so and I needed to be
very good.
looking for it.
Very good, very good. Okay. Now Ben's on his way. He's doing a little thing that he had to do, and he said he was rushing back for IAG Live. So keep an eye on that, Oscar. And as soon as he comes in, I think he's imminent. He's very close. So okay. As soon as he gets back, can you please throw him up on the screen, and he can help me out. I'll be floundering in the water trying to do it on my own, and just throw Ben on there, and he can join the party, so to speak.
Sure.
All right, thanks, Oscar. All right, we'll see you next week, and perhaps we'll even see you later on in this session as well. See you, Oscar. And let's get into the first story of the week. Please bring it up.
Okay, I go. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Oscar. Yeah, so SkyCity Inc.'s deal to sell off commercial properties in Auckland. So this has been flagged for a while. SkyCity looking to sell some of their properties. Oscar, just scroll down a little bit. You're going to have to help me out here. I will have to review some of the stories as we go through. I know Jason Warbridge, the CEO of SkyCity, made some comments there. Pleased the sale of commercial properties has progressed to an unconditional status. Expected settlement 1st of September. So what this is all about is monetizing some of the there's a nice message from Scott Messenger. Congrats, Oscar, on the World Cup. What this is all about is SkyCity monetizing some of their assets, and this sort of leads to a broader concept in the industry I'll talk about. Oscar, just scroll down a little bit there. That's it. It's not a long story. SkyCity will use the capital proceeds to repay debt and provide SkyCity with greater financial flexibility to navigate current market conditions, which are a bit weak in New Zealand at the moment. There he goes on. SkyCity goes on to say, period of continued economic weakness in the ANZ market. ANZ, of course, for those not in Australia and New Zealand, meaning Australia and New Zealand. Sometimes in our office, we use the expression PANZ, meaning Pacific, Australia and New Zealand. Now, this is a very popular strategy at the moment, and probably I would offer some comments on this. We saw, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, I think it was before the pandemic, it might be a bit longer than that now, we saw this sort of fashion, particularly in the US, of these REITs coming up, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trusts, pronounced REIT, like Vichy, for example, and there's a few others. Vichy is the one that ended up buying the Caesars properties, where the integrated resort operators let's start with the US example, but it's gone wider than the US now. The integrated resort operators in the US sort of formed a view, our job is to own and operate casino businesses. Our job is not to be a real estate company. And using that logic, let's sell the bricks and mortar and rent them back. So sell the bricks and mortar to real estate investment trusts, who can then specialize on owning real estate and basically have a separate PropCo and OpCo model. PropCo being property company, OpCo being operating company. And we, as in MGM, particularly MGM and Caesars, we can operate an asset light strategy. This is a very popular phrase, asset light. We don't really want to own any big, expensive bricks and mortar assets. We will just be an operating company. We will rent those assets. Now, at the time, it was fantastic because, they sold these properties. They got huge influx of money. And then with that money, they were able to do all sorts of things. It helped during COVID. But I remember at the time thinking, I'm not so sure about this. Like, a day of reckoning will come. And actually, my last trip to Vegas, I felt that the day of reckoning was upon us. We have the problem, of course, is you sell the bricks and mortar assets to a REIT. The REIT now, their return is the rent that they're charging the OpCo, and they don't care about market conditions. They don't care so much about ongoing business environment when it comes to being a casino company. They just care about the real estate market. And as far as they're concerned, the rent goes up by 3% every year, or whatever it might happen to be. Here's Ben. He's joined us. How are you,
Hi,
Ben?
Andrew. I'm all right.
You made it. I'm in the middle of, we've just started the first story. It's going to be a very long breakfast break, very long IAG live today. We've picked out 23 stories. It's there's a lot of really interesting news that I think we can offer a lot of coverage and discussion on. We won't be spending a long time on all of the stories, but I'm on the first one, Ben, just to fill you in, which is the Oscar. Maybe scroll up to the top for Ben's benefit. The New Zealand selling the assets. And I've progressed onto a wider discussion about the concept of REITs and this sort of fashion. Maybe you can help me out. When did MGM and Caesars sort of start selling all their properties to these real estate, to Vici and the MGM one, name I've just forgotten for a second, to these real estate investors? It was before COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at least 6 or so years ago. It was around about the COVID time, I think.
Right. So I was, here we go. Pirates chipped in. Our regular viewer Pirate. Crown Blackstone has sold too many of its surrounding properties, especially the QBH hotel site, Queensbridge Hotel. Star should not have sold off the car park and the theatre. You are so correct. Yeah. So it's basically the comment that I'm making was that, at the time, it was great. They got this big influx of money. But now, as every year goes by, the rent keeps going up, the rent keeps going up, the rent keeps going up, increasing the operating expenses of the properties. And I've noticed in Vegas now that the business environment is not so great, that this is really causing a lot of pressure. And then you can contrast what the companies have done with this asset light strategy to the companies that have decided to keep their bricks and mortar. So particularly Wynn. So Wynn is obviously a very different beast. Wynn's a little different from all the other companies. It's smaller, but the very high end, uber luxurious. And their attitude was very much to keep their bricks and mortar. And I think that would be the attitude too of Mr. Adelson if he was around still today. Sands certainly isn't selling any of their bricks and mortar to anyone. They're very used to owning their own buildings. And the problem, of course, is when you sell it to a REIT, if you want to do improvements, that's sort of a joint decision between the REIT and yourself as an operating company, and what are the rent implications? So I think this is a phenomenon we're going to see becoming increasingly. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. Business goes in cycles. So all of a sudden we had this asset light strategy. Who knows? In 5 years' time, we might see casino companies buying their buildings back from these REITs, thinking, no, the best model is the McDonald's model, where, as everyone knows, McDonald's is really a real estate company, not really a fast food company. It's all about the real estate. So I think this is a broad underlying fundamental issue in the industry right now, one that we can keep an eye on. I know we've got another story about New Zealand coming up. We'll just gloss over that one because basically that's the reason I put the story up about them selling their surrounding areas, was to talk about this more, this deeper sort of fundamental concept. And typically it starts with selling off surrounding areas. Star sold off the theatre too, didn't they, Ben?
They did. They sold. I mean, that was more so to raise capital to avoid.
Well, they were sort of desperate for money, weren't they? Yeah, they were desperate for cash at that. So I remember at the time looking at the number, which escapes me now. Was it? It was an 8-figure number. Was it 40 million or 60 million or something Australian? And I remember at the time thinking, gee, that's not very much. That's almost a bit of a fire sale price. Of course, this was pre-Bally's, right?
Yes, yeah, that was probably 2 years ago, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I would say.
Yeah. But Bally's, of course, has to, if there's any completion required, Bally's will have to complete. I mean, Bally's have been encumbered with a few decisions that were made before they had control that they just have to go with, like for example, the Brisbane, the Brisbane property, the sale to Far East and Charles O'Fook. I think Bally's didn't really want to do that, but a deal's a deal, and the deal was done before their time. And I think they tried to make some noises about, could we reverse this? But the two Hong Kong companies were like, no, we want it. And, it is what it is. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on. Story number 2 of 23. Let's go, Oscar. Yeah, I thought this was interesting. Sri Lanka trying to get their regulator up by 30th of June, but had to delay it, Ben.
Yeah, there's been a few questions about. I mean, I think first of all, I think Sri Lanka is trying to do the right thing by bringing in proper gambling regulations. Obviously, with the opening of City of Dreams Sri Lanka recently, and obviously trying to develop a more attractive casino destination industry. They've realised that they needed properly gambling regulations, a proper gambling regulator. They've been trying to do that. There have been questions all along about whether there was sufficient liaising with the industry, B, possibly external experts that have done this many times, consultants, various things. So I think what they're finding now is there might be a few little holes in this legislation a few people are starting to see this is the case now. And so we're seeing delays as they realise they may need to go back and review all of this and have a look and fill in some of those holes that they've discovered. So, but at least they're trying to do the right thing.
Look, if you're going to do something, you may as well do it right. You're better off delaying doing something and getting it right than just rush it and do it badly. I mean, we're guilty of that a bit at IAG ourselves. We say, oh, we're going to do this by this amount of time. It ends up being later. But at least when we do it, we do it right. I'm glad to see Sri Lanka taking the same attitude. I think Sri Lanka is a really, really interesting market. I went there in... was it only January this year? I think it was. So much has happened since then. Oscar, you might want to flick up the... Did we end up doing the cover story on that? Or was it was a strong secondary when I stayed at City of Dreams earlier this year?
Secondary.
Strong secondary. Oscar, if you're able to, you might want to flick over to the... go to asgan.com, go to the magazines, find that mag. Was it February or March we ended up publishing it? And then be strong this year.
Feels longer than that. I can't recall what issue that was in.
Is it up on the secondaries?
Ago, was it?
I think it was. Anyway, Oscar will find it. But anyway, the point that was it this New Zealand one? Just flick into the contents, Oscar. They all merge into one after a while. Anyway, see if you can find it, Oscar. If you can't, it doesn't matter. Be nice to just flick through for people. It was one of the secondary stories about Sri Lanka. Maybe you can search, Oscar, and find it. Anyway, while you're trying to find that, really interesting market, Sri Lanka. 5 casinos there at the moment. City of Dreams, Sri Lanka, obviously. Then you go down to Bellagio and Bally's, owned by the same family. Then there's Marina, and then there's also Majestic Pride, the one in the tower, Colombo Tower there. Probably 2 big things to say about the Sri Lankan market, 2 big sort of key takeaways for people who don't know the market very well. It is deathly close to India, really close, particularly so it's just, if you look on a map, it is, Sri Lanka is approximately the size of Tasmania. And there it is, Oasis by the Sea. That's it, Oscar. Really beautiful property literally by the sea there. And there's all the Melco's portfolio, including the latest edition, City of Dreams, Sri Lanka. It's just a fantastic little property. There's where you arrive at the airport. But the 2 sort of issues are its proximity to India, and we've actually got a story later on in this IAG Live about India. I'm going to ask for your comments on India, Ben, because India are not playing ball with the industry at all. And so that gives an opportunity to Sri Lanka because there are a lot of, high-level Indian players. India is a very rich country. People underestimate India. There's a hell of a lot of money in India, particularly Mumbai. It's the richest city in India. That's a little further away from Sri Lanka because it's on the west coast. But still, all of India is within a 4-hour flight of Sri Lanka, and southern India is within a 1-hour flight of Sri Lanka. So it is a viable weekend destination. That's the first thing. Second thing is that they put their entry, there we go, put their entry fee up from $50 to $100 in a country where the average GDP per capita is about 5,000 US. That is a very high number. So you're only getting the richest locals, foreigners, obviously. So Sri Lanka, it's a viable market. It's an interesting market for us to cover and to think about. And it's good that they're getting a proper regulator, because these sort of Southeast Asian countries that don't get a proper regulator, they try and regulate it from the Ministry of Finance or something like that, never really get it right. And obviously somebody there in the government in Sri Lanka is trying to get it right. Now, in many ways, they say you have to lose a grand final before you win one, right? In many ways, you kind of have to get it wrong before you can get it right. But at least getting it wrong is a stepping stone towards getting it right. So, congratulations to the Sri Lankans. And I hope they're able to come over to the IAG Expo. We've invited them to the IAG Expo in September, particularly the Regulators Forum on September the 17th. Any more comments from you on that, Ben?
No, that's sort of where we're at, Andrew. And of course, one of the concerns with the new regulations is enforcement powers, the ability for enforcement to act on the various rules and regulations they're trying to bring in. So, of course, what's the point of having regulations if you can't enforce anything?
Right, exactly. You need an enforcement arm. All right, let's move on, Oscar. Story number 3. Just a quickie, noting that halfway through the year and almost 21 million, so almost 42 million run rate. What did we get last year, Ben? 39.96 or 40.3 or something?
40 just over 40. 40.3, 40.6.
Something like that. So a little bit up, but a little bit up on a very high base. I mean, that's an incredible number of people. So 40 million. I mean, it's obviously over 100,000. Just tapping away on my calculator here. 40 million divided by 365. 110,000 a day, every day, 365 days of the year. Obviously, some days more, some days less. But look at the crowds are certainly back. I was walking around Macau. I'm in Macau at the moment. I was walking around Macau yesterday, just on a Thursday afternoon. Nothing special. Packed, absolutely packed. Mainlanders everywhere. So there's certainly a lot going on in Macau, and we've certainly got a bit more of a mass market than we had before. It is crowded, and we are getting serious visitation. I don't think anything more needs to be said than that, just noting that number, really. Let's move on. Number 4, I guess it is. See if I can keep track of the numbers on the way through. What do you got for us, Oscar? Yes, this is really interesting. I'll hand this one over to you, Ben. This is really interesting. New Zealand doing online.
Yeah, look, the process is bubbling along. They've obviously, you can see in the headline there, opened the expressions of interest period. So, of course, companies can express their interest. There will be an auction process coming up in the future for licenses. There's 15 licenses or up to 15 licenses on offer. They may not give all 15, who knows. And I expect there to be pretty strong interest as well, Andrew. I know that I think there are a maximum of 3 licenses available for any one company or person. So your likes of your entains who are already openly admitted they're going to bid and try and get 3. SkyCity, I imagine, would go for a few.
Absolutely.
But it'll be very interesting to see, who I'm sure all the common contenders around the world will be bidding, and a few others. So that process will play out over the next 6 months with a view to issuing licenses by the end of this year and having everything up and running early next year.
Flutter too, I guess. I wonder if Crown's interested in that. That'd be interesting. Yeah, and obviously SkyCity makes a lot of sense, being the integrated resort operator there in Auckland, and they actually also have small properties in a few other places in New Zealand as well. One in the North Island. They've got one in Queenstown or Christchurch. I can't remember now. I used to know them a lot by heart. I think they had 6. But Auckland's obviously their head office, and of course they own Adelaide as well, SkyCity. So this is really interesting because there is so little legal licensed regulated online gaming in Asia Pacific region. To have a fully developed first world, I hate using that expression, but I'll use it, first world sort of fully developed country like New Zealand doing this. No discredit to the Philippines, but the Philippines online industry has seen its share of issues. Fully congratulations to what the Philippines is doing. We'll talk more about that as we go through today. I think there's a few stories about AML coming up. The Philippines are doing a great job, but they have had their ups and downs. And New Zealand has had the opportunity to sit back and watch that and then create an industry. And as Paul James said at the Regulating the Game conference that you and I attended in March this year, They are just simply converting existing players who are playing illegally into a legal regulated framework where they can put in player protections and collect tax and all of that sort of good stuff, as opposed to having them playing illegally. So New Zealand taking a very enlightened approach, as New Zealand does in quite a few areas, don't they? New Zealand, they're an interesting little country. They're quite progressive in a lot of different ways, and it's good to see them doing this. So I'm sure there are many jurisdictions throughout Asia Pacific region watching what New Zealand is doing with interest. And if New Zealand is able to pull this off and do a really good job and demonstrate positive outcomes from it, perhaps it's the thin end of the wedge leading towards more organized online gaming in other jurisdictions around the region, notably Australia and others, Singapore, perhaps. Who knows? We don't know, but let's see. So good luck to New Zealand. We're watching them with great interest, and I've got to get myself over there. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get a chance to, but I tried to go this year, couldn't get there this year. Already blocked. All the rest of the year travel already all blocked out. But I'll definitely try and get over there next year. Try and meet with the government. I've been meaning to meet with SkyCity for a long time, so it'd be good to get over there. All right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? Is it number 5? I think. I'll bet you I miscount. Yeah, I thought this was really interesting. One for you, Ben. That Japan and China are so highly represented over at the WSOP.
Yeah, well, we've just concluded the 2026 World Series of Poker, Andrew. 100 bracelet events exactly this year. The World Series of Poker is a bit of a behemoth, isn't it, each year? Pretty interesting series. But yeah, so they released the figures as they do at the end of the series that ran through series prize money, all sorts of different stats and numbers and figures they threw out. Yeah, but they also listed the 10 countries that were the biggest source markets of players at this year's series. And from memory, I think Japan ranked 5th and China 6th among those top 10. America was number 1, of course, which makes a lot of sense.
Of course. Yep.
But look, Japan is well known. Japanese love their poker. Actually, when we were down at the Aussie Millions, Andrew, there were a couple of Japanese celebrities playing in, one made the final table of a 5K, and we live streamed that, and there was an enormous Japanese viewership watching this actor play on that final table. So, the Japanese players are well known, and China as well. They do make their way over in pretty good numbers.
Look, a well-organized poker series in a place that's got good, strong poker infrastructure is a great way to get players to your casino. And poker is a bit of a dirty word in Asia and in some people's lexicon, to use a fancy word. But just look at those numbers. World Series of Poker, 250,000 participants. 150 countries. Now it's well established. It's been there over 50 years and, or for 57th already. I remember playing in the 40th and that wasn't my first. So I think the, first thing I would say, alluding to your cover story, and maybe Oscar, you could just flick to show the cover story of this month's, of the July issue of IAG. Ben wrote a really interesting cover story about poker, the sort of pros and cons of having poker in a casino, from a B2B, from a management point of view, and I thought that was really interesting. And World Series just goes from strength to strength. So if you do have a very well established, you don't have to be the World Series, that's the biggest in the world, but if you do establish a strong poker culture in your property, it does bring a lot of players onto the floor, who then play slots and then play other play other games and so forth. And the second thing being the Asian contingent. The clearly poker has a very strong following in Asia. It has a very strong following in the Philippines. It has a very strong following in Japan. Has a very strong following in mainland China, where it is illegal everywhere in mainland China. From time to time they try to create these poker rooms in China and use a loophole and say it's not gambling or whatever. And typically it always ends up getting cracked down on. And then, but just goes to show what a following it has. Nice APT logo there. And there's our friend Kenny at MGM, one of the few properties in Macau to actually have a poker room, MGM. And it just goes to show the following that is there in Asia. It's just huge. And you will remember, Ben, when we had the APTT going strong here in Macau. We had the City of Dreams, or the various poker rooms we had in Macau, variously at Grand Waldo, as it was, the former Butler Wui, Broadway. There you go. I've become Chinese. I think of the Chinese name before the English name. The former Broadway, former name for Broadway. We had it at where else did we have it? It was obviously famously at City of Dreams for a long time. We had it at Grand Lisboa, so it moved around a bit. The Poker Stars room in Macau. But when we got the Macau Millions going, I mean, I think the biggest Macau Millions, do you know off the top of your head, maybe well over 1,000 entries? How many, what did they get? Go on, Ben.
There were a few thousand entries from memory. I can't remember the exact numbers. That was just probably like a year before the room closed down, actually. It was a massive number.
There was a massive, I remember there was a massive one.
Yeah,
the Red Dragon
Macau
event.
Millions Red Dragon. So that was huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, it was popular, but
go on.
Just not always the type of players they wanted to fill their tables with. They weren't baccarat players, unfortunately, and that's an issue in Macau. So but I think I think at the end of the day, what those World Series of Poker numbers show, with the Japanese and Chinese players being such a high contingent, is just how popular poker remains to be across Asia. And we see that the Philippines as well is a very popular game in the Philippines, Japan, even Hong Kong, Macau, very popular. So no surprise for me really to see that.
Yeah, a bit disappointing I didn't get to play this year. I was just too busy with work. I used to play that every year at WSOP and love it. It's just absolutely, it's so much fun. But anyway, let's move on. I think we're up to number, I've lost track. I think it's 6. India. Now, this was really interesting from Max, wasn't it? These comments.
Yeah, this was from a short interview that Max Tapani gave with the Rob Report India, I believe. So specifically talking about the Indian market, described it as a critically important market. Well, I mean, geographically, it's pretty close, really, isn't it, Andrew? It's not that much of to jump on a plane from India and get to the UAE. So it would make absolute sense. And as you were saying before, there is a lot of wealth in India. So, of course, Wynn will be, obviously targeting all of those places across, from Europe to the Middle East to India and beyond for those high-level players that no doubt will frequent their gaming floor.
We probably update our picture there for UAE as well. We get a more modern. That's sort of. I think that might be an early rendering. I mean, it's a pretty accurate picture, but we get some more updated ones from UAE for the guys over there. Look, I think this is a really interesting thing. I've always said there are 4 markets for the UAE property. Those 4 markets are India, GCC Gulf Cooperation Council, or whatever they call it. So all the local sort of Middle Eastern countries there, Eastern Europe, Russia, Estonia, Lithuania, all of the Baltics, all of that Eastern Europe area, and a little bit further afield, actually Western Europe, as in Germany, France, Italy, all of that, because they don't really have an integrated resort. The nearest thing they have is maybe Cyprus, City of Dreams Mediterranean resort. There is a Resorts World Birmingham. It's pretty small though. There'd be nothing on the scale of the UAE. So the Wynn property there, which will be absolutely magnificent. I have no doubt about it. I mean, I've raved about it on other shows, so I won't rave about it now, but it's just going to be awesome. So I think they're going to have 4 really solid markets there. And look, if 1 doesn't fire and 3 do, or even 2 don't and 2 do, they'll do well. I think I mentioned Mumbai before as the richest city in India. I believe there's more millionaires in Mumbai than in any other city in the world. Or maybe there's 40,000 millionaires in Mumbai, something like that. Anyway, it may not be the absolute richest, or may not have them. I suppose New York would have the most. But there's a hell of a lot of millionaires in Mumbai. Let's put it that way. And it's on the western side, so it's on the UAE side. I mean, the flight couldn't be more than 4 hours, could it? We'll have to check that, but it wouldn't be very long. So I think it's going to be a great market for them. I think good comments there by Max, who's leading the property over there, president of Wynn Al Marjan Island. Great guy, Max, too, by the way. Really good leader, good young leader. And they've got a wonderful team over there. Boy, are they loading that team up with some good people over there. So Craig Billings to be congratulated on the vision, and Max to be congratulated. And they've got Tom Rollins as well over there, I believe. Those guys, they're executing very well. Wynn always executes well. So I'm super excited. I'm planning on going there in January again for my third trip. There, hopefully I get a hard hat tour again, where they're at, and then they will open, of course, next year. Well, they were saying March, April, but they've admitted that there will be a delay due to the conflict over there. Maybe it'll be September. Who knows? We're speculating, but September, October feels about right to me, because you wouldn't want to open it in the heat of summer over there, and you wouldn't want to wait till Christmas. So I think September, October seems pretty sensible time for me. But anyway, it will open next year, barring any craziness. All right, let's move on to the next one. Is it number 7, Oscar? Let's see how close to 23 I get. Wow, another big story.
Yeah, this has been obviously something that PAGCOR has spoken about, and particularly Chairman Tenko has spoken about almost since taking over the role about 4 years ago now. He's always spoken about decoupling, is the term they use, from their Casino Filipino self-operated casino brand. There's a little bit over 40 of those nationwide. And according to PAGCOR, this may be, well, they'll be getting the decision at least on whether they can proceed with this very shortly. As early as August, they're expecting that, and we could have an announcement sometime in September potentially. Look, so that'd be it's an enormous thing for PAGCOR. Andrew, that's it's been sort of the little sort of question about PAGCOR for many years, is how can you be a regulator and an operator?
Yeah, often people say to me, how the hell did that arise? Both the regulator and an operator. But actually, I got it explained to me once about how that situation arose, and it actually makes a lot of sense. When they did legalize casino gaming in the Philippines actually, it was legalized before PAGCOR, and then PAGCOR came in fairly early. I think we're talking 70s and 80s here. PAGCOR was developed to run all the casinos, not really to be a regulator. And it was a sort of an operator, and they had all these casinos. And then what happened over time was, of course, then they eventually created the integrated resort license. And you might remember that the first proper integrated resort was Resorts World Manila, which first opened. They opened a few times. First opened in 2009. I was there at the opening in Manila, and that's obviously Newport World Resorts today. The name has changed. We won't go through all what happened there, but that was the first one, and they created this thing called an integrated resort license. That was then followed by the entertainment city properties, Solaire, City of Dreams Manila, Akata Manila. And then eventually we end up with places like Hahn and New Star and Royce. Of course, Hahn and Royce up there in Clark are a little different because that's in the Clark development zone, different economic, special economic zone. But these integrated resort licenses came up. And then, of course, because they were more compelling offerings for the players, they took over the revenue. Most of the GGR these days falls within the proper integrated resort operators rather than these older PAGCOR properties, which haven't been maintained as well, and PAGCOR acknowledges that. So PAGCOR then, when Chairman Tenko came in with the new president, Bongbong Marcos, one of their priorities, he made it a very clear priority, hey, this can't continue anymore with us being an operator and a regulator. PAGCOR always says they're firewalled down the middle, and they've got people that work on the operator side, and they've got people that work on the regulator side, and they don't talk to each other. But, if you believe that, well, I've got some fairies to sell you or whatever. And they're working for the same organization, and the appearance of impropriety is enough. So I think this is great that he's doing, and he really means it, and they're really pushing it through. And I know that the COO of PAGCOR, Wilma Eismer, who everyone calls Amy, I know Amy is working hard on that, and as she did with the AML, she's done some good work. And if they do manage to pull it off, if he's the chairman of PAGCOR that it happens under, that'll be a real feather in his cap. And so it'd be interesting to see. And as you say, they got over 40 properties around the country. I think they're trimming that down into the 30s. I think there's some really underperforming smaller properties that they're basically just going to let go. I think we're going to get down into the 30s somewhere. And some of the existing integrated resort operators might be interested in picking up some of those properties. I think they might be gently encouraged to do so. There might be a bit of that going on. And also the owners of the buildings, because these properties don't own the buildings. The buildings are owned by landlords, and they generally, they pay rent in one form or another. And so some of the owners of the buildings might be contenders to acquire these properties as well. So interesting, very interesting. And of course, we'll have a lot of PAGCOR presence at the IAG Expo in September. They will all be there. And if there is an announcement in August and we have the Expo in September, we'll get lots and lots of news in September about the decoupling and what's going on there. Chairman Tenko, of course, will be, we haven't officially announced it, but every year he does the keynote speech at day one of the IAG Academy Summit, which I expect he will do as well. And he'll be around informally as well for all of the events, September 14 to 17. So it'll be interesting to hear about that. Okay, next one. I think we might be up to number 7, are we, Oscar? Yeah, a few stories about Korea this week, Ben.
Well, the big issue in Korea at the moment, Andrew, is around this proposal by the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Finance, I believe, around increasing the tourism levy that they charge to operators. Currently, the maximum they can charge, it's a bit of a sliding scale, is 10%. They're looking at raise that to 15% on revenue. So it's the fact that it's on revenue is a bit of an issue, and the fact that they're raising it by basically a 50% increase is also a big problem. So, the concern now is on a couple of levels. One is it's going to have a significant hit on profitability. As you can see there, some Korean analysts have looked at this, and depending on the operator, I think GKL was the one they said could face a 37% hit. But even here, Paradise and those guys are looking at 25, 30% hit to the foreign-only operators there. And then, so that's one of the big concerns. The other concern is that this is happening during a period when the foreign-only casinos have been pushing to have more help from the government because, of course, MGM Osaka is coming in 2030. And the fear is that that's going to cannibalise a lot of their, certainly their Japanese player base, but even some of the Korean players that might have a foreign passport that they use as well to access the local casino. So this could have a massive impact on the domestic industry in Korea. And the last thing they need, they're saying at the moment, the last thing they need is to have to pay another 5% on revenue each year.
It's so easy to travel between Korea and Japan. I mean, they're so close to each other. It's just it's almost an island hop. That a lot of Korean players will be drawn by MGM Osaka when it first opened. I'm sure of that. And yeah, their industry is not, I mean, it's a foreigner-only industry, so it's not solid. As we know, foreigner-only industries, they're not built on solid ground. And any hit, they're very susceptible to any hit. So a 50% increase in this levy is certainly going to hurt them. GKL, for anyone who doesn't know, is the 7 Luck brand. GKL is Grand Korea Leisure, the company that operates the 7 Luck brand, partially government owned, by the way. So partially or fully? I think partially government owned. Partially, yeah, okay. So they're kind of paying themselves. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Korean industry plays out over the next few years, because actually business is getting better, isn't it? Like the actual operating environment's getting a little bit better because Chinese in the northern area of China are going to Korea a lot more than they were before. And I know, Ben, you've been publishing a lot of stories saying that the numbers have been going up, but they've got this, typical government. As soon as the numbers go up a little bit, bang, they hit them with this levy. And they've got MGM Osaka coming, which I don't think the government may not understand the fundamental sort of restructuring of the business environment that will happen as a result of that property opening. I think it will hurt them big time. So the answer, of course, is to make it not foreigner only. I mean, that's what they all want, but the government doesn't have the motivation to do that, too scared to do that. That's a whole other can of worms we could open up and start talking about Vietnam and what happened in Vietnam. We won't go there, but very interesting. And I was again trying to get to Korea this year, but just couldn't make it. I'm very much trying to get there in Q1 next year and have a nice long trip to Korea, visit all the properties, including the Jeju properties as well, Jeju Island properties. Yeah. All right. I think that's enough about Korea for now. Let's move on. What are we up to? Number 8 or 9 or something? Yeah, I thought this was interesting. Ben, let you give the facts, then I might give a little bit of commentary.
Yeah, so this sort of all goes back to what we've been seeing over the past few years, where the Philippines was on the Financial Action Task Force grey list of jurisdictions under increased, increased, we'll say observation.
Scrutiny.
And of course, the Philippines worked very, scrutiny is the word I'm looking for. The Philippines worked very hard to get itself off that list and achieved that last year. Got off the list, and that involved, the cooperation of all sorts of industries and agencies. Of course, PAGCOR had a particular focus on the casino junket industry. So again, that they've achieved that now, but the goal, of course, is to stay off that list. And PAGCOR is working hard to, it's been overhauling its framework across the industry, and it has a bit of analysis of the industry regularly. And it's found that there's still some work to do, particularly in the sort of casino junket sector, of course, which makes a lot of sense. So they're calling for all operators to review their AML framework, look for where there may be deficiencies, and to fix it, basically.
Yeah, only 2 countries in the world on the blacklist, Myanmar and North Korea, which I don't think they're ever getting off the black. Well, North Korea is certainly never getting off the blacklist. I think Myanmar is tough too. And the grey list, Ben, do you know about a dozen countries, I think, on the grey list, and the rest of the world is white? Is that sound about right? I've seen the list.
Yeah, they changed the way, about a year or so ago, they changed the way they assess countries so that they could remove some from the list based on the new criteria, because the theory is that first world countries, it's easier for first world countries to get off the list than second world, third world countries. So they adjusted it to have slightly different judging criteria. That didn't really apply to the Philippines. They didn't get off the list because of that, but what I mean is that there's fewer countries on the grey list than there used to be for various reasons. So, there's, I think around a dozen now, 12, 15 or so.
I know the Philippines took this very, very seriously. And again, congratulations to Amy Wilma Eismer, I should say, the COO and president of PAGCOR, for doing great work on this. I know she worked very, very hard, and it was a point of national pride for the Philippines. I mean, the president of the Philippines was all over it. I mean, there was a point of national pride to get off the grey list, and they have done that. And they are really, really trying, the Philippines. They're, the Central Bank of the Philippines National Police, the Department of Immigration, the DICT, which is the Department of Information and Communications Technology or something like that, basically the IT department for the whole country, and PAGCOR, of all, in the interagency cooperation in the Philippines has been very strong, and they've really, really made a concerted effort to get themselves off this list. There were some countries that had a vested interest in keeping them on the list too, by the way, so it was a little bit political as well. But they managed to get off the list. Now they want to stay off the list. So they're taking it seriously. I mean, what happened there in the Philippines with the POGOs? They never want to see that happen again. So they've learnt their lesson, and they're trying hard. So congratulations to them. In terms of their success or otherwise, the country still has its issues. We all know that there are issues in the Philippines, but I think slowly but surely they're moving in the right direction. So let's encourage them, and hopefully that continues. And we here at IAG will continue to support them and work with PAGCOR to try and make the industry as clean and as regulated and as professional as possible. All right, I think that's enough of that. Let's move on. Nice. Some good news stories out of Australia. I thought I'd throw this in because it's good to see us actually talking about the properties for a change.
Yeah, we probably should speed up some of these too, Andrew. We'll be here for 3 hours.
I know it's going to be a long one today. Might be the longest ever.
Yeah. Well, look, just very quickly, obviously you can see pretty much all the information is there, that a couple of fine dining restaurants are opening, one at Crown Sydney, one at Crown Perth. And Andrew, you and I were just talking yesterday about the fact that, Crown Sydney in particular has a a very esteemed array of restaurants there. It's it's a great dining establishment, actually.
Fantastic F&B offering. We were talking about it in the context of who might win the award at the at the IAG Expo. Of course, we have the IAG Academy IR Awards, and one of the categories is the best F&B offering for an integrated resort. And we were saying, Crown Sydney should nominate for that, because they do have a great offering there. Anyway, good to see this some new offerings in Crown Sydney and Crown Perth. All right, well, we'll move on. I just threw that one up there for a quickie. And then some comments here from our friend the Pirate. Singapore's Resorts World Sentosa brought back its poker offering after COVID. Good point. In recent years, a large increase in Indian players at Crown Blackstone, Melbourne. A lot of Indians in Australia, and that's good to see. And Star Entertainment sold. Oh yes, we mentioned that before about the selling to the family. It was 60 million, right? Okay. And then yes, the previous comment about selling the surrounding properties like the Queensbridge Hotel across the road from Crown. All right, let's get back to the stories, Oscar, because we've still got a lot to get through. Next one. It was a big week of news. You've been busy this week. I went through and had a look at what was there. I was like, wow, can't miss this, can't miss this. There was a lot of news. So look at another big story, a 70-table poker room in Inspire being launched. Wow, that's a big move by them.
Yeah, that new, so more like a new gaming zone. So there'll be this poker room. There will be, they said sort of a luxury junket room, and then sort of a bar and lounge associated. So I guess sort of a new area overall being created. The first event that will be there will be WPT Korea, WPT Seoul, I think they called it, here at Inspire. So 70-table poker room, that's a pretty decent sized room, Andrew.
Yeah, that's a decent room. I wonder, I don't suppose Koreans are exempt from the foreigner only thing. I suppose same thing, they still need to be. Yeah, what a shame. Scroll down a little bit, Oscar. Is there any details, 70 tables, any other details in there with numbers? Scheduled to take place. So their WPT, which is probably the second most famous poker tour in the world after WSOP, is going there. 46 events over 11 days with a main event of 5K. Did I see that Danny McDonough is doing that?
Yes,
overseen by Danny. Danny gets around. Good on him. Yeah, one of the best.
He calls it the
Go on.
He calls it the Asia Swings. He's in the middle of the Asia Swing at the moment, Danny. He's doing events all over Asia.
Oh, good on him. Yeah, no, very good friend of IAG's, Danny McDonough, and one of the best poker tournament directors in the world, without a doubt. All right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? That's a big move by Inspire. Yeah, this was just we can gloss over this one pretty quickly, but I thought it relates to what we were talking about before. And you see there the Banco Central in Filipinas, which is the central bank of the Philippines. They're calling on these AML measures for casino customers. So I just pulled that up to show the cooperation between these agencies. Basically, scroll down, Oscar. That there's a whole of country attitude towards this issue. The president has made it a big issue, and many government agencies are working together to try to really make sure that the AML provisions in the Philippines are followed and enforced, and that any reputation of having AML issues for the Philippines is removed. That's basically the only reason that I threw that one in there. So I think we talked enough about that. Let's move on to the next one, Oscar. Yeah, this was just following on from that very first story, SkyCity inching towards asset monetization target. So this was just really repetition of the first story. Scroll down, Oscar. And I think was there anything new in here? Or was this story, Ben, help me out, was this just confirming that the transaction is going ahead?
Well, the first story was more about some commercial properties just sort of nearby SkyCity Auckland, and that deal had been done. This is about a new deal that's been made to sell off the Grand Hotel, which is actually part of SkyCity Auckland. So
right.
There were two assets in the first story. This is the third asset. This basically would wrap up their asset monetization program that they spoke about last year. I think they first announced this concept. And so I think this is a non-binding agreement at the moment, but assuming this progresses, I think 150, 200 million for this hotel. fix their leverage, helps them out overall. And as you said, it's just part of a little bit part of, as you say, the previous story.
Yeah, I hope that it doesn't come back to bite them, and I hope that they've learnt from the experience in Vegas and they put provisions in place in their agreement. I mean, fundamentally, they're not saying that there's anything wrong with this. Just that there are advantages and disadvantages to every move in business, but one of the things to do is to minimise risk, right? And to I hope that they've got provisions in place with regard to upkeep and rent increases. They're the two big issues: ongoing rent increases that have no respect for the business operating environment, and upkeep. Who decides refreshment of and renovations of the properties, and on what basis is rent charged on that? Who comes up with the capital for that? Of course, there must be provisions in the agreement about that, but it's something that I know it's an issue in Vegas at the moment. Now that it's so many years. It's basically one regeneration cycle since these REITs came in. So, I mean, approximately every 7 years, you want to refresh your hardware. So, that's the issue. All right, let's move on. What's next? Yeah, second hotel for Wynn. Another big story.
Yeah, Wynn announced this in their Q1 financial results a few months back, and this is the government officially giving them the green light to proceed. 450 odd room all suite hotel. Andrew, as you say, any time you can add new rooms in Macau is worth a lot of money. So Wynn's got some land there. Wynn's actually got quite a bit of land they can still use at Wynn Palace. So they're utilising a little bit of it here. That's a great move by them. I'm sure it will be a beautiful property too, called the Enclave.
Yeah, I mean that space on the right there that they use for those beer festivals and various things. They put temporary sort of pop-up festivals on and things like that. There's a lot of land there. It'd be great to see Wynn with this second hotel. Wynn is a magnificent, luxurious property. But when I drive past it these days, I kind of look at it and go, it actually looks a little small compared to the others. And for them to get another 400 and something rooms, it'll be absolute gold for them. It's not so much about what they charge for the rooms, although they'll charge a pretty penny for those rooms. It's about getting players in those rooms who will then go on and play, and that'll be a great investment. That'll be a very good. The ROI on that investment will be solid, I imagine. Very, very solid. All right, so good luck to Wynn and. Yet more rooms. What are we at? About 45,000 rooms in Macau. I think when I first moved to Macau, it was about 18,000 rooms or something like that. It's good for us to see more rooms. We're still a long, long, long way shy of Vegas at 160,000 rooms. All right, what's next, Foster? Wow, this is another huge story. This is the talk of the US, is what's going on at Resorts World New York City. Maybe I'll do this one because I was over there recently and talking to the Genting guys, or talking to the Resorts World guys, I should say. But the Resorts World guys in Vegas rather than in New York City. I will be going to this property in Q1. I have it planned. I'm very excited about going to it. Apparently, it's just gone gangbusters. So regular viewers of IAG Live and readers of IAG will be very familiar with the New York process that went through. Very difficult process. We ended up with 3 winners. So I'll see if I can get them right. There's the Hard Rock one, there's the Bally's one, and then Resorts World one. And Resorts World had the advantage of already having a property that did not have table games. So they to everybody's surprise, they just went bang and put some table games in. They didn't renovate. They didn't build new property. They just started. And they will be building and renovating. And I think that's a future story we've got coming up. But I'm hearing that it is just going gangbusters in there. And the money that they are making is very, very handsome. And, they're just going to do very, very well there. And they've got a big head start over the other 2. Bally's have got, it's a long time before Bally's gets their act together and gets open, and same thing for Hard Rock too. So Resorts World are going to have, at least a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years, where they're going to be effectively the monopoly operator of table games in the greater New York City. Ben?
Not much more to add, Andrew. As it said, it's 1,400 more slot machines. They've got 2,900 slot machines now. They've got hundreds of tables. They're the only property, as you said, with tables at the moment. I won't, as you said, there's another story coming up that I want to mention, something that was said in today's story, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, again, they've got themed aristocrat zone. They've got all sorts of interesting things on this expanded gaming floor, and it's going to be very interesting to see as they build this property out. They're going to absolutely crush it, I think, Andrew.
I think so too. I mean, Genting gets lucky again. Kind of like Sands Macau 2004 from Scott Messenger. Very much so. Very much so. That's good analogies. Good point Scott makes. It's kind of just printing money at the moment. So anyway, we'll have more to say on the next story. Let's move on to the next one. We've hit the 1 hour mark. This might be our longest ever IAG live, but it's, I mean, there's just so much happened this week. Just a quickie there, unusually low hit, rolling play hit Sands. What's this about, Ben? Was this just playing unlucky, or what was? Is there a reason? Was it the World Cup? Blame everything on the World Cup.
Yeah, look, I listened into the earnings call. So a bit of an interesting quarter because Grant Chum spoke about the fact that actually the second quarter was pretty strong through April and May. In fact, I think he said that May set an all-time record for mass gaming volume, or GGR, I think, for monthly GGR in the mass market for Sands China. However, June was much lower with the World Cup impact. And then, of course, as you can see in the headline there, they had extremely low rolling hold, which is 1.35%, I believe, for the quarter. So that impacted their results, and Sands is investing heavily, as we know at the moment, into, player reinvestment and, in this competitive market. So, I mean, that's rolling is a volatile segment, and unfortunately it's going to happen. But, Sands, a few whammies this quarter as they try to claw their way back to where they want to be.
I bet they checked that out. That sounds almost like a mistake, 1.35%. I mean, it can happen, but wow, that's really, I mean, we're talking about high. I mean, it was always 2.7% was kind of the agreed number. And then that sort of, with all the additional side bets and so forth, that's gone up to 3% and then beyond. And then in Marina Bay Sands, they're talking about getting up to nearly 4%, which is insane. That's typical Marina Bay Sands. Those guys just make money hand over fist. Good luck to them. But 1.35%, I mean, that sounds very, very low. It almost sounds like something's gone wrong. Is there an accounting error? Is someone, heaven forbid, cheating? What's going on? I'm sure they completely, thoroughly were on top of it as it was happening. So if it's 1.35%, okay, it's 1.35%. But hopefully they have a quarter that makes up for that, and next quarter it's 4% or something. That sounds like a very, very low. I've never heard of a number that low.
Actually, I recall during COVID, when volumes were very, very low, that Wynn had a losing quarter.
They did too, didn't they? They actually lost one quarter for a whole quarter. But anyway, obviously very low volume, so that makes sense. Yeah, I don't really count that because the volumes were down. Well, I remember at worst, the volumes were down to 5% of normal. I remember all through COVID, the 3 years of COVID, 20, 21 and 22, the GGR here in Macau ranged from a low of 5 to a high of 30% of normal. So of the normal run rate. So if it was one of those quarters where it was down near 5%, yeah, okay, fair enough. And comment there, keep in mind Sand Zones, all of them, of course, all the ones, Venetian, Sands Plaza at the Four Seasons, Londoner and Parisian. So, yes, the point being made there is that it's being split across. But was it all Sands China, this rate, or was it just one of the properties?
That was company-wide.
Oh, okay.
But of course, the results across property were different. So the Venetian had a really tough quarter.
But the
Londoner had a...
But the 1 point, Ben, sorry to interrupt you, but the 1.35%, was that across property, all property, or was that for one property? It was across property?
That was all properties combined. Oh. And it would be accurate too, because they've got smart gaming tables rolled out across all of their rolling baccarat tables. So
I'm sure it's the actual number. It's the question is, why was it that number? Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. No, I think the point being made there was that maybe it was being split across multiple properties, so some would be higher and some would be lower, but that number was across the whole company. Wow. Anyway, all right, let's move on. What's next? Yes. Oh, this is well overdue, and it's great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, in the second quarter, Sands fully completed the renovation of the London and Macau that's been ongoing for a number of years.
Yep.
And yeah, it just makes sense. It's time to move on to the Venetian. It opened in 2007, almost 20 years ago. When you walk through the Venetian, yeah, it's a little bit tired. You can see that it's just time for a bit of a refresh. Nothing wrong with the property. It's just, time to bring it up to standard. And that's what Sands are focused on. They're going to go through almost 3,000 hotel rooms. I think they're going to take 300 or 400 or 500 rooms offline at a time, and do them. So the goal being to get that done by Chinese New Year 2028. And of course, you don't really want to miss an opportunity in Chinese New Year any year, do you, Randy?
No, absolutely not. No. Oh, well, it's great to see that. I mean, I don't think there's anything more to say on this one other than it's great to see them finally getting to the Venetian and doing a refresh, because it's essentially unchanged from, well, maybe that's a little unfair to say it's essentially unchanged from the start. There has been a lot of changes, but I think the rooms are essentially unchanged. Great rooms at the time, and now probably more like standard rooms. But to have an all-suite hotel at the time with the 2 tiers of the room, the way the Venetian rooms are, was revolutionary at the time. I remember when Mr. Adelson was talking about. I remember walking down the Las Vegas Strip. I think it was in '96, and there was a little showroom at the site of what is now the Venetian, and there was a showroom there with one hotel room, like a mocked up. And I actually went in and had a look at it, and I was like, "Wow, look at this room! This is one of the uber luxurious rooms, right?" And they said, "No, every room is going to be like this. Every single room. It's like, well, this is the entry level room. It's a standard room." So there we go. They actually renovated the rooms back in 1617. Okay, so Scott would know because he obviously worked for that company for 16 years. Oh, so that's good to know. That's a gap in my knowledge. So they did a bit of a refresh then, but it's good to see them doing it again. So about another 10 years. By the time it happens, it'll be about a decade later. Yep, and then move to the Expo Centre. Yes, the famous Sands Expo where G2E is, which we will be at in late September this year. It's in the last week of September instead of the first week of October this year. All right, let's move on. We must be starting to get towards the end. Oh, this was sad yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, a good friend of ours, Andrew, Jeff Mann, he's been based in Manila for a long time. He was the CEO of the Asian Poker Tour, managing director of the sports betting operator Mega Sports World, but most importantly, just a really nice guy. Mm-hmm. And you and I knew him very well. We'd catch up with him regularly for lunch, and he was a bit of a mentor to me, Andrew. He gave me a lot of advice, and he was a sounding board over the years. I know the same for you. Yep. When I learned of this yesterday, that it's one of those moments that stops you in your tracks on the day.
Yeah, I won't say too much because I'll get too upset. But Jeff's a really lovely guy. Cannot say enough about the guy. Worked with us in all sorts of ways. Gave a lot of advice. Had a lot of quiet dinners with him and his wife Joy. Sometimes, more often, just with him. Just discussing the industry, and just a really, really great guy in all sorts of ways. We worked together, as you remember, Ben, in Vietnam when we had the poker room in Ho Tram there. We worked together, and he was a joy to work with. I remember saying to you yesterday, I can't remember, did we actually sign a contract or did we just shake hands? We might have just shaken hands on it. That's the kind of guy he was, and you could rely on Jeff, salt of the earth kind of guy, fun guy, and very, very sad to see him no longer with us. So let's move on before I get too upset about that. Jeff would want us to move on and then just enjoy our lives, but it's a loss to the industry. And a lot of people might not have known that listen to us might not have known Jeff, because he was a poker guy, he was a Philippines guy, and in latter years ran Mega Sports World, the big online sporting and retail sporting. They have retail shops as well, sports betting outlet in the Philippines. Orange color branding, and he would talk very passionately about Mega Sports World when we would get together, and the business that he had built there, and a very interesting life and a great guy. Anyway, let's move on. India, hit us with it, Ben.
Look, this is a story that Kelsey wrote yesterday, and it's really one of those ones, this, Andrew, like the hits keep on coming really for the industry as a whole. in India. Delta Corp, of course, is the only listed gaming company in India. They're having all sorts of issues at the moment with various governments around GST and claims for historical payment of revenues that are of an absurd amount. And so this actual story itself is a relatively small issue. Deny a request to install slots at the Delta Hotel in Daman, but it really plays to the overall attitude in India, which is. I just feel that the governments in India don't really have any understanding of the industry, how it works, how the finances work, any of those sorts of things. And we've seen that in the online over there. I mean, the online industry is being smashed by, a law that was brought in literally overnight last year. And then, the land-based industry is being smashed with these GST requests. So a bit of a mess over there, Andrew. It's very confusing to look at. You look at some of these things that are happening and you just go, how is that a thing? But that's the India we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, is it incompetence or is it maliciousness or is it a bit of both? It's got to be one or the other or both. And it's not just one government in India. It's state governments. It's the federal government. They call it the federal government, whatever the national government they call there. This GST thing is incredible. They're charging GST on turnover, on volume, on handle, basically, which is insane. It shows a lack of understanding of how the industry works. There are GST bills being sent to companies that are greater than the net worth of the company. Just insane, obviously impossible to pay. And now this is just yet another example of negativity. I mean, there has not been one decision in India go for the industry, one government or court decision for years. And when you consider it's now the most populous country in the world, they love gambling, absolutely love it, particularly cricket betting. But there's a really, what the industry could be in India if they really got their act together, it could be amazing. And it isn't. And this is just an example of it. So look, we'll just keep following it here at IAG. Again, I have a trip to India planned. If I could ever, I've got a 3-week trip to India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka all planned out. I just got to find the 3 weeks to get there. It would be great to see India. If India really got their act together and sort of flew, boy, would our industry grow and would the opportunities be there. Could you imagine a Marina Bay Sands type property in the heart of Mumbai? I mean, it would just be incredible. Proper, organized, regulated sports betting, legal, well regulated, run by an ante or a Flutter or an industry. Well, hopefully multiple operators, because competition always gets the best result for the consumer.
That would be massive.
It'd be huge.
Cricket betting over there, that would be. Yeah.
The cricket's insane. So there you go. Indian VIP market is massive. Absolutely, it is. And when I worked as a young boy in Vanuatu in a sports betting shop, we had very, very good odds. We were basically a wholesale sports betting. We didn't have too much retail. And the Indian bookies, the illegal Indian bookies, would bet back with us. And this is in the 90s. And the money that they would hold on cricket matches was just incredible. So anyway, let's keep our eye on India. What's next? This is a good little thing, I think. The reason I threw it in, this is something that there's Dr. Wong right in the middle of the picture. Very popular figure, almost an iconic figure at Sands China. Everybody loves him. And this is a big thing that that's nice, Oscar. There you go. And there's Helena next to him on the left, the director of the MGTO, the Macau Government Tourism Office. And this is a great thing that Sands does that they kind of built up during COVID, but now they just keep doing it. I did hear that there was some rumors about them maybe, I won't say too much details, but let's just say pulling back in some ways or making this event not as attractive as it currently is. But then they said, no, let's not do that. Let's keep doing it the way we're doing it. And this is a hugely popular event in Macau every year. Just scroll back up to the top, Oscar. Yeah, this so the shopping carnival. Kelsey's done the story. I mean, is there anything more to add? And maybe Ben, you want to describe it a little bit, or is there any points in there that we need to hit?
Well, I think first of all, Piers Chan wrote this story, and as you say, when he said to me yesterday, "Do you want me to write this?" I was like, "Yeah, I think this is actually quite important because as you say, Sands launched this initiative in 2020 during COVID as a way to support the local shopping industry, retailers, SMEs around Macau, that sort of thing. And the interesting thing is that they don't charge the exhibitors anything to exhibit at this carnival. They don't charge anybody entry. So it's basically they're doing this for free, basically putting on this exhibition.
It's a gift. It's a gift to Macau.
Yeah, 500 or 600 booths, so pretty hefty. And look, I think it's a great initiative. I think that sort of thing is really important, particularly because the retail environment in Macau is challenging at the moment for a lot of SMEs working out there in their small shops around Macau. So things like this are really important for those guys. So no, I think this is a really good story to highlight the good work that Sands have done here.
Yeah, hats off to Sands for this one and keeping it going the way they're doing. They should keep doing it each year. It's become a real institution. People love it. Locals love it. I'm sure they're going to get huge numbers there for the event. And well done. And not much more to say. Keep doing it. Well done, Sands, for this one. We're not shy of criticising when criticism is due. So the flip side of that is you have to encourage and be complimentary when they do a good thing. And I think this is a great thing for Macau that they do each year. It's become a real institution. Okay, what's next, Oscar? We must be getting close to the end. Well, this is really just a continuation of what we were saying before, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, there was an event held. The government hosted a discussion event around this very issue yesterday, I believe. Yes, the Korea Casino Association was part of that, as were various government ministers, to debate this topic. And of course, the Korea Casino Association is a lobby group on behalf of foreign-only casinos. So naturally, they gave the industry a voice and pretty much said all of the things that we discussed earlier, Andrew, around the problems with raising the levy by around 50% from 10% to 15% on revenue. And of course, it addresses the Japan problem and all the things we spoke about earlier.
So only 92 views. So it probably just came out this morning, did it? Just a few hours ago. This was today, I guess, was it? Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we must be getting near to the end. Next one, Oscar. Is that the last one, or we got one more? Oh, yeah. This is interesting too.
Yeah, actually, I really enjoyed writing this one. So obviously, as we said, Sands released their results yesterday. When I wrote the Sands results yesterday, I wrote mostly about Sands China. So I wanted to back that up with a little bit more about Marina Bay Sands. So not surprisingly, MBS I'd say surprisingly, it had a bit of a beat compared to expectations, but it wasn't, they fell a little bit. They declined a little bit quarter on quarter and year on year. But probably no surprise because it's coming from a massively high level. I mean, the numbers that they've been printing over the last few quarters have been absolutely insane over there at Marina Bay Sands. And, it was interesting. The analysts, when they delved into the Marina Bay Sands issue over the past 24 hours, spoke about the fact that, Marina Bay Sands is now such a premium property and so much of its play is very, very high end, VIP or very high end premium mass, that, the level of rolling they have it naturally brings in volatility with it. So I thought that in itself was interesting. And the other part of this story that's interesting, Andrew, is it spoke about what happens at MBS now with the smart tables and how that has changed their theoretical. Marina Bay Sands doesn't have an ongoing theoretical. It has an accurate theoretical for every single quarter. Yeah. This quarter was 4.2%.
4.2.
Last quarter was 4.1%.
Wow.
Yeah, and actually, what actually came in at 4.7%, they actually achieved. So just ridiculous, ridiculous numbers.
So the theoretical the theoretical is, just to interrupt you there. Obviously, smart tables experts will be able to help us out, but the theoretical is obviously the theoretical on every bet placed. So it works out the edge on every bet placed, and if there's side bets, it works out that edge might be 8 or 9% rather than the 1.1% on banker or 1.05, whatever it is, 1.17, I think it is on player, whatever it is. And obviously it's now that's on real turnover, not on rolling. As everyone knows, rolling is the sum of losing bets, not all actual real turnover, which is all bets placed. Lots of different ways for accounting with these things. And so then it must translate that back to an edge that's appropriate on the base of rolling rather than the base of all bets. So 4.2. So 2.7 to 4.2, it's about 50%, right? 4.2 divided by 2.7, 55%. So at 55% increase in theoretical win based upon what the historical, the number that we always historically worked off, purely because of side bets, and there were all these extra side bets, right? Rather than the old time. I mean, we always had the tie, but now we've got, I mean, really it is just side bets. I mean, there's no other reason why the Theo should go up.
It's all about side bets. It's about the fact that smart tables allow for those side bets to exist much more prolifically, and they also allow for.
Why? Why do they?
Well, there were always problems with having side bets or having too many side bets on a table because they were open to exploitation.
I know exactly. Well, a lot more dealer mistakes and exploitation by players because there are ways you can count them and things like that. And there would be weaknesses, exploitable. I was going back to my original days early in the industry. There would be exploitable weaknesses of certain side bet. Not that I've even looked at that, and not that I care anymore. But there would be people out there doing that. That's for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Whereas the smart tables might be better at policing and enforcing. It would alert you if somebody was doing that, especially if those smart tables, those chips are assigned to people. I don't know if they're assigned to people. I think they are or they aren't. I think they weren't, and now they are, increasingly are. So you'd be able to detect that quite quickly. Yeah, okay, I get it. And also dealer errors would be, without smart tables, there'd be a lot more dealer errors, a lot more confusion. It would slow the game down as well, hands per hour. Whereas with the side bets, Tiger side bets gone crazy. Yeah. So isn't that interesting? 2.7 up to 4.2, and then they hit 4.7. You were saying, wow, no wonder they're making money.
Yeah.
Patrick Dubont must be sleeping on bags of cash. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but good luck to them. I mean, running their business successfully. Well done. Congratulations.
I mean, you can understand why they're in the middle of an $8 billion expansion, can't you? I mean, why not?
Why not? So, indeed. You've got the money. You've got the money. Remember, they sold Venetian of $6.25 billion in Vegas, so that helped. That gave them some cash, some serious cash. And B, what a great ROI. Why wouldn't you invest it if you think that that's going to happen? Marina Bay Sands, I was going to say before we sort of went into this, to me, it is like a mass VIP casino. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, like when you go in there, I mean, when I go there, their service standards are amazing. They're definitely up there with Wynn. Like if people say to me, what are the two highest service standards, luxury service standards in this industry in the world? I say, well, Wynn traditionally has always been number one, but Marina Bay Sands are just as good now. Specifically Marina Bay Sands. I'm not talking so much about Sands China Limited, although they also have some great product for the VIPs. But specifically Marina Bay Sands, the service, even little old me, when I go there, I usually go there 2 days a year or 4 days a year, just get a quick chance to get over there. And, the treatment that I get there is, I won't go into the details. You've heard me rave about it before, but it's just insanely good. And it's the standard treatment they give to all their sort of, VIP players. They throw me in that pool. And to experience that, it's really good for me to experience that, because then I can go around and tell people about what that experience is like. And if you're a big high-level VIP player anywhere in the world, I mean, the market is global now, right? Why wouldn't you go there? Why wouldn't you go to Marina Bay Sands where you get treated like that? Those magnificent, beautiful rooms they have. I stayed in the suite last time I was there. I looked up the rack rate. It was $20,000 a night. The suite it was, just insane. You'd live in the place. You'd happily live in the place. The offering they have up on the roof there, what's it called? I'm being very naughty. I've forgotten the name of it. But that new club they have up the top there, it's just below the roof level. It's amazing, but they deliver that at scale. That's the big difference. So they're not delivering that to 10 guys in the casino or 100 guys in the casino. They're delivering that to maybe 1,000 people, maybe 500 people, or I don't know how many people, but they're delivering that at a real scale. So, for them to be able to do that and do that well, hats off to them. What Paul Town and his crew are doing over there, what they're implementing over there, and obviously Patrick Dumont's very involved as well. Is leading the whole thing. It's sensational. It really is the gold standard of delivering at scale. Now, Wynn does it too, but they don't do it at the kind of scale that Marina Bay Sands does. Anyway, that's my little rave about them. I can really see why. We report the numbers, but there's a story behind those numbers, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So go and there's a bit more detail in the story. So I think people should go and have a look and have a read.
They should indeed. And MBS and Sentosa hosts work well together as well. I don't know about that. I have to find out about that. I will make some inquiries. Okay, what's next? Is that the last one? I think it is. I think we finally got there. What a week. No, one more. Oh, yeah. This is just, yep. Okay, Ben, hit us with it. So this is a continuation of what we were saying before. They're making so much money, they're breaking ground on more.
Yeah, a couple of days after they opened their the next part of their phase one, they've got going on phase two, and no surprise, and $5.5 billion they're investing, but I think they're going to get that back in a decent clip of time. And look forward to it. There's going to be a couple of new hotels. There's going to be an arena. There's going to be all sorts of facilities that are part of this $5.5 billion expansion at Resorts World New York City. And
there was one number that hit me. Now, is the number in the story? It's a number I know. Number of gaming tables. Did we quote it in the story?
Not in this one, no.
But it was in another story. Is it public yet?
Oh, yeah, it's been out there. I can't remember the number myself.
I know the number. 800 tables. Yeah. 800.
Yeah.
800 tables they're talking about. That'll make it the biggest table game casino in the world.
6,000 machines.
6,000 slots, right. 800 tables and 6,000 slots. It'll be the biggest. I mean, you've got that Wynn one. Oh, you go on?
Yeah. I was just going to Oscar, scroll down to the end of this story. There's a very interesting quote that was from Resorts World in this article, right down the bottom there, that Resorts World New York City is already the largest casino in the United States in terms of GGR, and that's after being open for 3 months with tables.
Yeah, okay, but that's a bit. I got to say that's a little disingenuous, because Hard Rock will have something to say about that. Hard Rock Tampa. So Hard Rock Tampa, where I stayed at, and it's 3 months, and it's the first 3 months, right? So you can't really just multiply that by 4 and go, that's our run rate. Yeah, they just opened. So when casinos first open, there's obviously a huge influx, and then it comes down to a straight run rate. I would say it too if I were them. I would say that, but let's wait and see how it is in a year or two's time. But I mean, it's definitely going to be up there. That's for sure. I know Hard Rock Tampa, though, is traditionally held out to be the highest. Of course, we don't actually really know, because it's owned by the Seminoles, so they don't publish figures, right? It's not listed on the stock exchange, so we don't get the official numbers. Anyway, all right, next story, Oscar. That's got to be the last one, surely. Yes, we got there. So sorry, guys. Wow, an hour and a half. That's the longest IAG live ever in our 50 episodes, but it was just an amazing week of news. Some weeks are quieter than others. This certainly wasn't. Well done, Ben. You must be tired. A big week of stories for you. There was a lot happened this week.
Well, I mean, it's better. It's much better, actually, Andrew, to have stuff to write about than to be scratching around for stories. So it didn't seem. It's actually quite surprising to go through them all. Yep. Look back on how many we wrote that were quite interesting stories, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same, actually. As the week rolled out, I felt, it's a kind of a normal week, interesting week, but normal week. And then we went back and had a look at it. So actually, this has been a really, really big week for big stories and big announcements and big information about the industry moving on. As I'm prone to say sometimes, when I first got involved in this business 20 years ago, somebody said, you'll run out of stories in 6 months. Well, here we are 20 years later, and there's no shortage of stories. And now footprint's got bigger and bigger and bigger, hasn't it? It's gone from Macau, Philippines, Singapore, Australia, all of Asia, and now we've merged with CDC. So we've got the American stories as well. And another one from our friend the Pirate. Breaking news: Crown Blackstone Melbourne wallet now available for. Well, there's a bit of advertising going on here. This allows cashless chip purchase and seamless play. Well, congratulations. Very good. That's very nice. And the Pit 23 Black Card Saloon will be moved from level 3. I think we've established that the Pirate is connected to Crown in some way. Certainly has some inside information on Crown.
Club 23, I think we're both at the opening of that, weren't we, Andrew, back in the day?
We were. Shane Warne,
Club 23, Joe Hasham was there, all those guys.
Yeah. What year was that, do you reckon?
I'm going to say it was around the 2006, 7-ish.
16, I think you mean.
Would make Club 23? No, be earlier.
Oh, it was after Joe. It was just after Joe won the World Series, wasn't it?
It would have been within 3 years of that, so I'm going to say 6, 7, or 8, somewhere in that.
God, it was that long ago.
06,
It's
07,
20 years. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was too. Yeah, very good. Very good. All right, we're getting into some real details there from the pirate that we're probably too much down into the weeds. So yeah, that's too much into the weeds. We'll take that one off, Oscar. So look, a very long week. Thanks for bearing with us. Of course, we'll have chapters as we always do on the YouTube version of this. If you're watching on the LinkedIn version, we can't do chapters, but if you're watching on the YouTube version, we can do chapters. And there'll be a lot of chapters this week. So you can jump to the story that you want. We'll have clips as well, like we normally do. Some big changes coming to IAG Live over the next few months. So some improvements coming. We're getting better at doing this, and there is certainly some strengths and weaknesses. We want to enhance the strengths and focus on some changes to the weaknesses. So we will do that. And thanks for following. Thanks, Ben, for all your hard work this week. It's been a big week, and as will all the weeks coming up to the IAG Expo, September 14 to 17.
Yeah,
what do you got?
It's been good. Plenty happening today. Plenty of work to do, and
yes,
we've got a big meeting tomorrow as well.
We do. We've had to. We're working Saturdays as well now. So yeah, we get into that time of the year where it starts getting very busy for the rest of the year. Q1's always a little quieter for us, but once we get into Q2, Q3, it starts to get really busy. And then Q3, Q4, second half of Q3 and Q4 is crazy busy. Power 50, of course, Friday, November. I keep getting confused whether it's the 5th or the 6th. It's the 6th, right? Yep.
6th this year.
So we'll have a big announcement about that soon. The venue, which I think we already announced the 6-year cycle at the end of last year that it's a Galaxy, but we'll be announcing the specific venue in the next week or so. Our MAD 37 at Newport World Resorts is part of the September to 14 to 17 IAG Expo. That's our next event, isn't it? Yes, that's our next event that we're going to have, because we already had the one at Grand Lisboa Palace. That great MAD 36 was fantastic. MAD 36 video coming out today, is it, Ben?
Yes, that will be coming out very soon, Andrew. As soon as I get a chance to actually have a final look at it, it'll be hitting your inboxes.
So it'll be hitting your inboxes today, or maybe worst case Monday, I guess. Have a great weekend, everybody. And I think next week we'll try to not do an hour and a half, but there was a lot to get through this week. So thanks everyone for watching. Keep reading IAG, asgam.com. Keep getting breakfast briefing 8 a.m. in your inboxes, 8 a.m. Macau time. And I think that's bye for us. Say goodbye, Ben.
Bye, Ben.
Bye for now. See you next week. Ciao.